this Monday, February 7th board meeting of the Romeo Downtown Development Authority open. So can you all stand and say the pledge with me? Over here. Whoop. Somebody moved it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. When did they move the flag?
I was sworn the police officer.
Oh, and nobody moved it back, huh?
However, I like it though, instead of the
Having to turn, yeah.
Such,
Elizabeth, can you do a roll call, please?
Sure. Char is not here. Kellogg? Here. Malzahn is also not here. Brandt?
Here.
Rose is not here. Hayes?
Here.
Poznansky?
Here.
Parker?
Yeah.
Stevens?
Here.
Okay.
And we don't have anybody for public forum. Now, Elizabeth handed out a new agenda, so I'm going to ask for approval of the revised agenda that she just gave to us. Can I get a motion for that?
Also moved.
The added was the downtown banner cable poles and that.
Yeah, the email went out this afternoon regarding that.
Oh, new business, okay, gotcha. Support,
Second?
Who was the first?
Nobody made, I need somebody.
You did.
I thought I did, but that's beside the
Okay,
point.
motion by Brandt. Okay.
No, I asked for. Seconded by Nancy.
Megan, okay.
Okay.
Do you want to vote on that?
I think we just need all
All
in favor.
in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Approval of the January 10th regular minutes. Did y'all have an opportunity to read through them? I'll make a motion to approve the January 10th regular meeting minutes as provided.
Second.
And then we had that quick special, January 27th special.
Still need all in
Oh,
favor.
everybody all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And then January 27th, we had that special short meeting to approve monies for the Winter Fest. Can I get a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Bill?
Yeah.
And I'll second it. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Yay.
Did you say nay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, financial report. So tonight we have Carla Heck with us, and she is going to go through a presentation on the new improved financials. Carla?
I feel like we should give her a round of applause.
I don't really know how much I really need to say. I feel like I included descriptions of anything. I don't know if you want me to do an actual presentation or if you just want me to take questions.
Well, there might be people that didn't actually go through,
Okay.
so if we can just go through,
Okay. So the statement of financial position, if you're a company, are used to seeing it as a balance sheet. So at this point in time, you have $350,000 in the cash accounts. The $31,000 that says uncollected TIF, that was a calculated portion of the total revenue that is supposed to still be received. Now, there are going to be 2 payments received in April, but I'm going to be verifying that amount. I can't say for sure that that's an accurate amount at this point, but that's what it relates to. You had a carryover fund balance from the prior year down at the bottom there, count 3,200 for $243,000. You have net revenue or cash effectively left so far this year to date of $132,000. So you have $376,000 as your fund balance, and you can see it's fairly close to the amount that you have in your cash account. So the major differences, I assigned account numbers to everything. There's abilities to consolidate down to like cash and accounts payable, et cetera, if in the future that you'd rather see it in a more summarized format. We're going to be using accounts payable. This, from now on, it allows you better cash flow understanding than just writing a check immediately for a bill, put it into accounts payable, and then pay it at the appropriate time. It works better. And it's clearer the way QuickBooks does it too. It's easy to create a bill payment list, whereas if you do it through cash and expenditures, you ended up with that general ledger thing that Carol used to give you. And it was just a matter of function of QuickBooks, really. If you turn to the next one, it's statement of activity. That, if you're a business owner, would be similar to an income statement. So it shows that you have revenue so far year to date of $200,000. That includes that $31,000, which was on the balance sheet as a receivable, and it's on the income statement as deferred TIF income. So that's saying that is about what you'll receive for the entire year. So what I wanted to point out with this is, I don't know how your copies are, but mine aren't like super light and dark, but the things that are in dark are kind of what I would call a category total. So just for example, under 416 at the top, the TIF revenue, all those accounts, those 6 accounts, all total to that 184,000. So what you're going to see in the presentation of the budget will be, you guys approve the budget by line item this year. So both pages of this, every line is subject to not going over the balance in those accounts based on the budget. What you can notice though is if we had approved it at a category level, say at that 184,000, well, I guess it's not a perfect example because we actually went over budget. Well, this isn't budget, this is just the prior year, but when we get to budget, you'll be able to see that if you'd approved it at the category level, it would give you more flexibility of moving dollars around within a category without having to worry about going over budget by each line item. So that's kind of, so again, I added all the account numbers. They're in alignment with what Tim Sadowski from the Village of Romeo, he gave us a list to use. So that's why it's a little bit confusing, but it was really kind of all I could do. But when you get down to 880 at the bottom of the first page of this, it's called Community Promotions. He gave us that account to put all of the activity that we do for the community under that. So as a result, I had to, because it's got the 3 sub-digits, I just categorize them then as revenue sharing, the downtown decorations. I did events and marketing, and then we have the brick and mortar projects. They're all under the 880 total, even though they kind of go up to 885. Well, the 880 total is on the second page, right before brick and mortar. So those will then, they then, when the auditors do the end of the year audit or if we change accounting and the village does it, those are ready to merge right into their system. So, and I did have a conversation with Tim, and he was extremely happy that that part was done. Okay, any questions on the balance sheet or, statement of financial position or statement of activity before I move on to the next two?
Is this something that's going to be given to us every month in
Yes.
the packets?
Yes,
Okay.
unless you want to see something different.
No, I don't get it.
Okay, so the budgets versus actuals, the next page. This is the one I was talking about. So right now it's in 2 pages. And again, those darker columns could be the category, so you could approve it at that higher level instead of by line item. And if you start looking at them, like under employee expenses, office expenses, all the way down. We're basically below budget at the category level, but because we approved at the line item level next month, we'll be presenting budget amendments so that the whole budget is back in alignment with expenditures, because we have a responsibility to stay within budget.
I have a question down under employee expenses. You
Uh-huh.
have salary full-time $40,000. Where did that figure come from?
Well, the budget is whatever you approved in June with Carol, and so I left all of those numbers. But I think she must have at that point, maybe you were anticipating hiring a full-time director?
But we have a set budget for the salary that we voted on in September.
Right, but we can't change
Okay.
the
So that will be
actual
reflected?
budget. Right, we
Okay.
can't change the budget from June unless we have a formal budget amendment
Okay.
proposal and approval.
Okay.
So the budget that I put in the fiscal year 22 budget was the one that you would have approved in June. So I wrote you some notes along the sides to help on understanding of what's going on. The comments in the budget are a little bit vague since we're gonna need to go through and do the budget amendments. But did anybody have any questions on that? There were a few things that were put in the budget that normally are part of the fund balance on the statement of activity. Like, for example, account 660 under the revenue section, there's 250,000. That was your carryover amount. That was your net revenue last fiscal year. Normally, you would not put that as a budget item. It flows into the fund balance, and then you have that there that you would need to spend at some point in time on your projects. Another number that she put in there was, I put it as 740 assignment for next fiscal year expenses, 35,000. What that represents is the amount of money that you would expect to spend between the time that you collected your last revenue, which was April, and your next set of revenue, which starts again in October. So she called it a 7-10 operation, which was really July to October. So anyways, normally, again, that would not go on a budget because it's not assigned to a specific project or an amount that you're going to spend. It was just put there to make your budget a break-even budget. If you don't spend it, it's just going to flow back through to the fund balance. So it really just isn't proper accounting. So that's why I have a few of those little comments. And when we go to do the budget amendment, it's probably going to change by that 285,000, the 250 and the 35, unless Elizabeth has some amazing amounts of projects she wants to do between now and June 30th. That we're going to spend 285,000. Yes.
Does that money have to be spent by the end of the?
Okay, so one thing that I read said that you need to spend TIF money within 3 years, but I can't say that I'm fully knowledgeable on that yet. I did have a great conversation with him, and I think he's going to be very helpful. I was very upfront with Elizabeth. I can calculate your millage. I can do a lot of the tax stuff, but TIF was new to me, so I have been researching it. And from talking to Tim, I think he's going to be very helpful. He already gave me everything I need to correct your calculation schedule that the numbers have been off for years. So once I get that done, I'll have another conversation with him, and I think by the next meeting, I'll be able to answer your questions a little bit better. And if the answer is yes, I'll give you a number, which will even be better. Okay, any other questions, or do you want to move on to cash transactions?
When did we spend 2,500 on attorney fees?
It's not attorney, it was for the Macomb County for doing the master plan booklet, or our master plan. We agreed to 2,500.
Yeah, it came in at 2,400.
So
Yeah.
we took that out of legal, or,
Professional, is it?
Yeah, I
legal
put it under
professional?
professional
Yeah.
fees. Yeah, I decided that it was not a community expense, it was an administrative expense.
you know, it shows as legal and legal advisement, so. I
Well,
just
maybe
was-
put slash professional.
Well, it's under the category 800, professional services
Yep, I
training.
understand that. I just-
Yeah, I can
I
move it
looked at it and I
to,
thought, my God,
well, it was
I
part
fall
of,
asleep occasionally because I'm old.
you know, I did it
but,
be-
you know, I don't remember spending $2,400 on an attorney.
well, it is a legal requirement as a part of receiving TIF funds that you
Okay.
do the plan every so many years.
Okay.
So which is why I stuck it there. You know, I
That's
hate to
fine,
have,
I was just stunned by it.
I hate to have too many accounts.
Right.
Well, it says right next to it too, it says fee for master plan,
Yep.
correct?
On the right side.
No, it doesn't,
Yeah, it
Terry,
does.
but that's
Oh, I
okay.
didn't put it there. Oh, I should have. I'm
I'm talking
sorry.
about right
A
here,
statement
so
of
we spent
activity it
$2,400
does.
on legal.
Oh, yeah,
Mine
I did,
says-
yeah, under the
Mine
statement
doesn't.
of activity.
No, I was looking at statement of
Fee
activity.
for master plan.
It's under the statement of activity.
Yeah, it is on the statement of activity.
Yeah, the budget kind of has a different focus.
We're on different pages.
Yeah.
Yep, you're on budget versus actuals, and then it was in the statement of activity.
Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, so this last schedule that this one, you know, if you want a different format or if it's a little confusing, you can let me know. But what it should give you is confidence that you know all of the activity for the month. Because it starts with the cash balances from the prior month and it ends with the current balances. And so you can't get to the correct balance without accounting for everything that happened. So the way that I break it down is deposits and transfers. So if it goes in and out and in one account to the other, you can tell that that's a transfer. If it just went in, that would have been a deposit. Obviously the interest income is just, you know, and miscellaneous adjustments are extremely small. The paid bills, 4,000 to 6072, that is, I just embedded them into the schedule. There's those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 checks that we wrote that related, that were other than what was done in your last board meeting, which went through paid bills through January 3rd. So instead of redoing them and so forth, I just left that. This will be the only month that'll be a separate section. Going forward, it'll all be one section. And then I tried to write an explanation of what each amount paid was for. Oh, it's also there on that page, the Macomb County Master Fee plan of $2,400. Then the payroll expenses are salary, payroll taxes are the payments to the IRS and to the state of Michigan, and then you come down to the balance. And then I gave you your total for approval, which was that 4260.72 plus the payroll taxes and payroll gets you to the 7,507. And then at the bottom, because you're new to accounts payable, or since we switched that around, I gave you what makes up the accounts payable balance. Because it's just such a small number of items, it's easy to be very transparent.
So for the credit card payment, do we see the transactions in the previous month's bookkeeping, or do we see it in the next month's bookkeeping?
Well, since it has a date of January 13th, all of the activity was posted in January.
No, I'm talking about the one,
The credit card?
That's in accounts payable.
no, the 2898
Oh.
from 1/3.
Oh,
Carol would have paid that one though, right?
that would have, yeah. Since she paid it on January.
That was for the website, the First Street Media.
Mhm.
That was her credit card. She had to pay it that way.
So do
because she
we-
couldn't get a check.
That would
out.
have been on she, when she books hers, it goes in and out the same day, on that same day.
And she
So
did tell us that.
since it was on
Yeah.
January 3rd, it would be included in this month's financials.
Okay, I guess my question was, how do we know what is on the bank card? Like when we see that line item of 2898, how do we know what that is?
Okay, so the 2898, that was entered and paid on the same day, but if you go down to the bottom with the accounts payable aging detail, that there's another one that's now Elizabeth's number, the 59245.
Right.
It basically gets paid and posted the date, on that date of January 13th. However,
I think what he's really asking is like
The
a
transactions
statement.
that
That happened
make up
on
that
total.
statement.
Like how do
Well-
we know, I know there's 592, but we don't know what that's for.
yeah,
As far as how many different transactions, is it one big thing, a bunch of small things?
it was about 4 or 5. So the way that Elizabeth and I have it set up right now is that I have a folder. Every time she spends the money, it goes in, the receipt goes into that folder. So I tie out all the receipts to the total, and then I post them to the proper amounts.
So we would see those broken down in February's?
No. I mean, they're currently in, like, if you, I guess, go back to the statement of activity, and you go to the second page, and you go about halfway down, 880.212 Winterfest, that 1943, that was almost all the credit, or part of that was credit card. Like, it's already embedded into the expenses. Most of the expenses are, obviously fairly small.
Say that again, what are you on?
Well, I was pointing to 880.212, the Winterfest. Part of the credit card I know for sure went into that account, the 1943, but that's a year-to-date amount. So it's not just for the month of January. It would go up every month incrementally by the month's activity, but it's always going to be year-to-date.
Are you looking for an itemized list
Yeah,
of
Well,
what's
I guess,
spent?
so the question really is, how
What's
much?
on the credit card?
Well,
That's-
Yeah,
yes,
it's been
and I
charged.
understand that, but the reverse question for me is gonna be, do you need to see that detail? If it's $500 and it's 6 items, I guess where's the materiality? Maybe it's something that Elizabeth could take to 1 or 2 people to approve. The tediousness of detailing out small amounts like that
Right, but it's small, but
seems
Could you just
But when
not
unnecessary.
make a copy of the statement that could go in the board pack with the financials?
Yeah, I guess that could work.
because if it's $500 or $600, I mean, I can see how that's a few items, but if one month it's 4,000, we'd be in the same situation where we don't know what those transactions are.
Right.
And Elizabeth, the credit card's in your name, correct?
Yeah, well, it's the DDA, but yes. mhm.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah, Carol set that up
So do you
in October.
have access to all the login information?
Mhm.
So, just, okay. And does
So I just
anybody
think
else?
putting a copy of the statement in,
Yeah.
the packet would suffice.
So if it says that the Greektown Casino
Yeah.
on it,
Yeah,
That
you
might
have-
then we
be
you have
know
three-
There you go.
Elizabeth has been attending a conference
And you
at
would
the
know that was
Greektown-
definitely fraud because I don't go there, but.
That's not true.
Well, Tahiti maybe, but.
The MGM is
But
your
rather
ticket.
than you creating a
Yeah,
whole
but I-
other report, if you just
If you put
slap
it
the
in there, we
statement
would
in.
know it didn't go to
Yeah.
the Greektown Casino, and we'd all be
Elizabeth
happy.
could give that to us.
Right, I mean,
don't know
Elizabeth
why
could just
she
make a
would.
copy of that.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Any other suggestions, questions, format changes? The next section that we included was this is the June 30th, 2021 audit report for the village. And it's just to show you how the DDA is reported as a component unit of the village. I don't think that there's any reason to really go into it, except that on that first page, there's capital assets being depreciated of $129,000. When I talked to Tim, I did get what was included in that number, and it was a clock tower and brick pavers. So, and so now we'll have that list. But really the only time that, and I talked to him about how he presents it to his board also, and he and I were on the exact same page on how we do things. This is, the way that this is, the audit is presented is, it's called government-wide financial statements, and it includes everything on a full accrual basis. On a monthly basis going forward, for all practical purposes, we're a modified accrual, which means we don't include capital assets. We also don't include, you only include something that's capturable in like 3 to 6 months out as being measurable. So actually going forward for next year, Tim does it this way, and this is the way I do it for the library, but that you really only record revenue when you receive it. We don't record it as being received on July 1st, which is what's been done, because it's somewhat challenging to know then how much cash you actually have to spend. I mean, you know it from your bank account, but you don't know exactly when you're going to receive the money and so forth. And so normally you just record it as you receive it, and that's what he does for the village. But this is just kind of for your information. I thought under the notes, when they talk about the Downtown Development Authority, it talks about the budgets and the expenditures of the Downtown Development Authority must be approved by the Village Council, which is why we're planning to have the budget approved in May so that it can get to them in time for their approval. Because technically you're not in business on July 1st if your budgets have not been approved. And last year they had to call a special session just to get ours approved. We don't want that to have to happen again this year, so we're going to get ahead of the game. The village also has the ability to significantly influence operations of the Downtown Development Authority. Complete financial statements for the component unit are not separately prepared. So just thought you'd see how you were described in their financial statements. And again, there's not a lot to what they present for us. So they just basically took the information Carol gave them and kind of put it in their spot locations. But overall, you can see they just pull us out in a few different pages. Their whole audit was like 65 pages, and we showed up on 5. So, any questions or thoughts or other changes?
No, it's very good.
Hopefully you find it an improvement. So I gave you a list of the work that I've completed and what the next steps are going to be in the write-up. And if anybody has any questions on that.
Okay, these other A, B, and C are all under the financials still. Okay. Well, let me get a motion to approve the payment of the January bills in the amount of $7,507.22.
Make the motion.
Greg, second? Okay, roll call, please.
Tar?
Yes.
Kellogg?
Yes.
Malzahn is not here. Brandt?
Yes.
Rose is not here. Hayes?
Yes.
Poznanski?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Carla, are you going to talk about the bank, or are you
Yes.
going to?
No, I'm gonna have her.
Okay.
Or we can talk about it together too. And
Right.
I'll defer to her first, and then I can interject as needed.
Okay.
Okay, so the action item, do you need me to read the recommendation or?
You can, yeah.
Okay. So the recommendation before the board is to approve the change of banks from Huntington Bank to Tri-County Bank. Checking account and savings account will be transferred to Huntington from Huntington to Tri-County Bank. The payroll account at Huntington will be merged with the new checking account. The current check signers will continue to be the same signers at Tri-County as follows: Kelly Stevens, Board Chair; Zachary Hayes, Board Co-Chair; and Elizabeth Miller, Executive Director.
And then, did you guys read the background? Why she did interview the credit union. They don't do governmental accounts. Fifth Third, what was Fifth Third's deal?
Well, their contacts would be in Clinton Township.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And they're definitely designed for much larger business accounts.
The same is true with PNC, I assume.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Can you go real quickly over the authorized signers again on that, at that tail end?
Yeah, they're right there in the recommendation.
Yeah.
Kelly, Zach, and Elizabeth.
And I'm just sorry, I can't find that right in my stack. I know I read that earlier.
It looks like this. Action
the
item.
Yeah.
It's right after all the financials.
It's,
So is it any one of them, or is
There we
it
go.
two of them?
It's two.
Okay.
Well, it's really Kelly and Zach are always the check signers, I guess, unless somebody says, okay, I give you my authorization, then Elizabeth may sign it, but it really, the way we've
Still
been
requires two
functioning.
check sign- two
It
well, we are-
always requires two.
well, we're the current check signers,
Correct.
correct,
So
right
there's
now?
no change
There's
there.
no change in that.
So bottom line, checks require 2 signatures or not?
Yes,
We do.
Yes.
Okay.
and
like it.
we'll continue that
Yeah.
if you approve Tri-County. So the main reason, one of the main reasons to switch to Tri-County is because Huntington does not, with their online banking, is not able to allow us to do direct deposit with payroll, and it also doesn't allow us access to it.
I
to-
find it so hard to believe with a bank
Well,
that size.
I feel like, okay, so for the library, we had it with Huntington, but the comment about the relationship banking account, we had, well over $1 million in that account. When we moved ours to Chase, because we couldn't do a lot of the online things we wanted to be able to, I couldn't see the credit card balance or the activity in the account, or things like that during the month. So we switched to Chase at the library. So we only keep like the $250,000 at Huntington, and we are no longer a relationship banking account.
Okay, so-
And I think the problem is because when you do the online, they have a threefold access. You have a company ID, a user ID, and then a password. And QuickBooks really only allows for the two-step verification.
So we have a motion by Bill on the recommendation to move the accounts to Tri-County. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Carl?
Okay, so motion by Parker and second by Brandt, okay.
Yeah, everybody in favor?
Should we do a roll because we're moving money?
Oh, probably, yeah. Okay, roll call.
Sure. Tar,
Yes.
Kellogg,
Yes.
Malzahn is not here, Brandt,
Yes.
Rose is not here, Hayes,
Yes.
Poznanski,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Thank you. And just for your own knowledge, the wording in the motion is exactly what she needs to take to Tri-County Bank
To get-
everything started.
Okay.
Exactly. She's worked really hard on all of this, but this was quite an arduous task, along with everything else, to be honest with you. So it's nice to be able to move forward and have a business right in town.
Now, do Zach and I have to go to the bank to do?
You
check-
will, but I'm
Okay.
gonna have, what was her name?
Kim
Anyways,
Davis.
Kim, yeah,
Mhm.
she'll set everything up so that, and she'll probably call you in advance
Okay.
to get the information that she needs. I think she needs some personal data, and then she'll have all the paperwork ready, so it's just a signature.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're still up.
So the next action item is special project funding for accountant, which is me. To approve the quoted fiscal year 23 budget assistance, fiscal year end planning and cash planning of 10 hours at $50 an hour for $500. It was in my quote, which is attached and highlighted down under, on the second page, down under monthly requirements and special projects. It says possible fiscal year end cash planning and fiscal year 23 budget assistance. It was based on discussion with Elizabeth whether or not she felt that she was going to need that assistance, and since this is her first time through the budget process, she felt like the $500 was going to be worth spending to get her a full understanding of what the process takes and how it can be properly done.
And not only that, I mean, you have a different style of how the accounts are being run, how they're being handled. The way it's a completely different way of doing a budget is what we're going to be recommending. So to
Well, I
do
think
that
it's a good idea. I just am curious, back in December, we approved not to spend more than up to $2,900. Do we know where we're at right now?
This is this was the last item. So in all, as you can speak to your.
Well, it'll, so at that point you approve the first page and.
Right.
So you approved the 2,400, and then you approved, as a second portion, you approved those possible costs. You approved both of those in December. Then in January, you approved the up to $1,800, $2,200 for the payroll costs, and now you've approved this next line, the possible fiscal year one. So against the 2,400.
Okay.
So against the 2,400, I've put together just what I decided to do was a billing based on all of these steps that are completed. So you'll be seeing that this week.
Okay.
But it's like at $1,700.
Okay.
But that actually includes the first, for January's amount of 15 hours under the monthly requirements. So I think the total comes to, before this next budget amount, the total came to $4,950, and so $1,700 is out of that total.
Okay.
So we need a motion to
Approve her help with our budget,
the
not to
motion.
exceed
The
$500.
wording is right on the.
I'm
the
sorry.
action
To
item. That's
approve
okay.
quoted fiscal year 23 budget assistance, fiscal year ending planning and cash planning of 10 hours at $50 an hour for a total of $500.
Also move.
Support.
Second, third, whatever.
You want me to do it? You want to do it?
Yep.
Okay. Tar,
Yes.
Kellogg,
Yes.
Malzahn is absent. Brandt,
Yes.
Rose is absent. Hayes,
Yes.
Poznanski,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
and Parker.
Yeah.
Real quick, Carla, you're doing QuickBooks online, right?
Yes.
Did you not have to buy the license?
Well, it's a monthly fee.
Oh, you went with the monthly fee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, I didn't do the desktop version. The online is really easy, and would take a few years for it to pay back. And since we're in transition and not knowing if you're gonna switch it over to the village or not, that's a whole different software program.
Okay.
It'll give you a little flexibility.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Matt?
If I could, I have to apologize. I was here at the meeting before you guys,
Mm-hmm.
and I seem to have lost my ring somewhere. I
Your
don't
wedding
know-
ring?
I don't know that it was here, but I just wanted to make you aware of it. so
Where were you
see it.
sitting?
I was sitting right where Kelly is.
Silver, gold, white gold.
Silver.
What color?
The white gold, so I guess it's I don't know that I lost it here, but I'm checking all my. Yeah.
Cheryl said you can't come home yet. Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
basically. So, okay, well,
remember the shirt.
obviously you're,
Oh, I didn't know that was back.
That's a paperclip you stuff.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Did you use the restroom when you were here?
no, I didn't. Okay, well, thank you, I didn't mean to disrupt
No, that's okay.
your meeting.
All right, I hope
If you see it,
All right, we know who it belongs to.
you know who it belongs to. Thank you.
All right. Okay, Elizabeth.
Okay, so before I go into my director's report, I have this lovely young lady sitting next to me. This is Madison Roush. Did I say that right this time?
Yes.
I did, okay, good. She came forward actually the day of our first planning meeting for what has now turned into the Romeo Winterfest. And she is a senior at Oakland University, and she's interested in event planning, and she's been in theater, all kinds of things. And so she wanted to come tonight and see what this is all about. She's probably done over 30 hours of volunteer work for us, and she has been an absolute just intricate part to the planning of all of this, and even beyond, going into some of the work that's being done downtown with the businesses as well. So super excited that she is here. So thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so the director's report is quite short compared to what you've seen the last several months, and because there's items in the unfinished business section that just didn't need to be duplicated in there. So just a quick recap on some of what's happened so far with Romeo Winterfest. The banners went up by the Bruce Township Fire Department, so very grateful to them for doing that, and we have an issue with that, obviously, to talk about later on. The snowman delivery with the police escort was a huge success, and was a lot of fun. Another volunteer was helping with that, and somebody thought that she had been arrested because she kept getting in and out of the back seat of the cop car. So that was a lot of fun, and Pat was our escort, and he did a great job. I was very grateful for that. All of the, you want to hold that one up? All of our promotional flyers have been distributed along Main Street a couple days ago. Another volunteer took them south of town. She put up about 30 more. And they've just been, one of the teachers, actually Mr. Savage, who does the first robotics class for biting bulldogs, which is going to be part of Winterfest also, he took some to distribute at the high school and the middle school as well. So that's what those are. Social media continues to be updated, and I'm learning new things every day. I did my first scheduled thing the other day. Didn't know you could do that. So that was nice to do. In addition to, all of the graphics is being generously donated by one of our local community members who has a business, and she's just so excited that something like this is happening. She helped us. She actually created the RomeoWinterfest.com website.
The website looks great.
Everything is dumping into that. It is just, even the sign-up genius is just, when we had our first meeting, some of you were there, several of you were there for our first meeting, and she said, what's the overall goal? What's the goal? What's the goal of this? And I said, well, the goal of the DDA is to promote economic growth and development of the downtown area, and to promote the businesses and to improve all of that. So she said, let's take this up a bit. Let's go take a bird's eye view. And so she said, if you start a website, everything can pump through that. And so we're updating it every day. We've been working on it this afternoon. Information more will happen tomorrow too.
Do we own that domain?
We will. She's handing it over to us. So what we'll be able to do, that's a great question, Zach. So what we'll be able to do is when our new DDA website is launched, this will go directly into that.
Okay.
So when someone types in RomeoWinterfest.com, it'll go straight to a page on the DDA, but it will still have all of its content. Yeah, that's a good question. The second story walk has been installed into 17 storefronts, up 3 from the last one. This one's a little bit of a bigger book as far as page fronts. The book is Snowballs by Louis Ellert. RDL director Claire Lippicklo and her staff continue to do a beautiful job on that. They actually spent more money on this one than they did the last time, because they took it to the printers and had them printed on foam board, because the book was so small and it just wasn't she didn't like how it was being presented, so she went ahead and did that. The business community is very excited about having another story walk. We continue to hear about well, why didn't I get picked? So they're excited to have more in the future. A local artist started today embellishing the pages by painting a frame around each of the page to make them pop and to go with the color theme of Romeo Winterfest. And so she's doing all of that for a nominal fee, which is part of our budget. But she's just so thrilled to be here doing that as well. So. Current bylaws and procedures and whatnot, one of them is part of the board packet for later. So is there any questions? Okay.
Okay, we don't have any committee reports. Pedestrian crosswalk project update.
Sure. So Ro is in the process of submitting all the required documents. Actually, I got an email just before leaving the office around just before 6 o'clock tonight. That they just put that out to the. They just submitted it to the state. Unfortunately, he's trying to get them to push it even, but it looks like we might not actually be able to start until June, because they might not get the package together till May. But he's going to try to help get that going a little bit sooner. We will continue to talk about this project with potential new businesses and residents. There's excitement surrounding the project as we gain a reputation for helping to move the village forward by improving the downtown community with this project specifically. There are many businesses that weren't aware that this was happening, and so they're quite pleased that both the DDA and the village board is being forward-thinking in this matter.
Elizabeth, how long is the construction process once they're downtown and?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's slated to be a 2-month process. So if they start June, if they start June 1, it's they say it with completion by August 8th, which makes me nervous because of Peach Fest and everything else. So we're on top of it, but you know it has to go through the whole state process, unfortunately. But to that, we will be producing some boards that will be on display in the village hall and a few other places so people see what it actually looks like. I'm hoping to have a couple done prior to Winterfest so people can see that.
Since the Peach Festival is primarily at the south end of town, particularly what's crossing, are they starting down there?
That's a good question, Bill. I'm not sure which spot would be started
I think
first.
we would want to encourage that because that's just so many people crossing there. And
Yeah, that's a good question.
far
I'll find
fewer-
that out. I'll find out.
There's far fewer people crossing
Right, north.
on the north end or on the west end. It just isn't, the people just aren't there.
Right.
Mhm.
They're all trying to go to the Lions field.
Yeah.
Now, I'll have an answer for you for next month.
We ought to encourage that, I guess, is what I'm suggesting.
Sure. That's a good question. You want me to go ahead and go on to the next one?
Parking study, yeah.
Sure.
Mhm.
Communication was sent out to the Village of Romeo Board Planning Commission and a few property owners and residents regarding a parking study committee. Several interested members from each sector have expressed interest and committed their time for the project. It was brought to my attention that it might be best to have a preliminary committee made up of DDA board members first to discuss the scope for a broader committee and then make recommendations moving forward. So I'm looking for some board direction in this matter, how you guys want to proceed with this.
I guess I'll just jump in, because, we paid to have the parking study done. What is our goal from the results of the parking study? I feel like we they told us what we already know for the most part, but in more detail.
Mhm.
So we've got the details, we have more of the specifics. What is the goal of moving forward with this parking study? Is it to make a recommendation to the village board? Is it for us to plot future sites for potential parking? Is it moving parking spaces around? I guess that's where I think we need a clear directive as to what our goal is
With the
with this
report.
parking study
Mhm.
before we start bringing in more opinions, because I feel like we've discussed everything multiple times on our end. We've looked at property to purchase, we've talked about, what we can recommend that the village do as far as enforcement. I don't know where we go from here.
What was your thought, Elizabeth, by forming the committee?
Yeah, so my thought with that is, and I didn't, we were having printer issues at the Village Hall today, actually on Friday, but, and this is really, really small, but, when you look at all the different parking places that are around between, what's on just streets, what's private parking, what's village parking, and there's just such a wide variety of signage everywhere. There's no continuity with signage. And so part of my thought is with some of what we're doing, communicating with some of the businesses is saying, hey, and this is done in other communities, would you be willing to have a sign that might say, business parking from this hour to this hour, after hours, open for public parking, whatnot. There's a lot of that parking that's available after 5 o'clock, right? And on the weekends, nobody's parked there. So what other communities do is they have consistent signage throughout their community. And that's what I would like to see happen, because you don't have to fix everything before you can put new signs up. That's something that I think would be worth having. I mean, you have that signage. You go to, Lake Orion, their signage is consistent everywhere.
So are you saying we need a subcommittee to do it? If you already know what you want and we have the numbers and the areas, do we really need a committee to do this, or do you just need to go ask and keep going?
Yeah, that's a good question, Megan. I think the reason to form the committee by some people who are on another board or business leaders, if we just come in and do it and somebody goes, well, nobody asked our opinion, nobody asked what we thought that should be done. We're asking private business owners potentially to change signage, to make some changes and whatnot. And if we don't have a conversation, it's easier to have a more collaborative spirit if you could actually get people being able to share their thoughts and their opinions. It doesn't mean you have to go with them, right? They don't have to agree to change their signage.
Well, they actually do. It's their parking lot and it's their signage on their private lots.
Right, but they don't, what I mean is, they can say thanks, but no thanks, we don't want to change our signs.
Well, and
Right,
I
they
think
can totally do that. if
That's
they want.
I think that's as simple as just going to the business owners and knocking on their door and saying, are you interested in this? And if that's the goal of the subcommittee, to say, let's create the signage, let's create the verbiage and have something mocked up to say, this is our proposal as a business owner who owns a private lot.
Mhm.
Are you in or are you not in? Because it's really up to the business owner at that point.
And how do the other communities cover insurance? So if it's Zach's back parking lot, and he says, sure, you can use it, we're done at 6. You can use it and you can use it weekends, whatever. Okay, so somebody's using it, they hurt themselves, now is Zach liable, or does it, how does that?
That's a
handle
great
for-
question. That's something that we would have to research. But, without direction from you, I'm not gonna spend the time figuring some of that out. I'm not able to take the time to
No,
figure some of that out.
I think you're onto something there, Elizabeth. It's something we've talked about. Zach and I kicked it around before a little bit, but there is a bunch of parking out there, and we need to find out about, there's, Mark Clark's over there on that side of town that makes a lot of sense. You've got the church over there by the post office. You've got the River God. Zaco's have the parking lot there behind the bank. A lot of parking. We do need to think about how we're gonna clean those parking lots up and what we could give them in exchange for just sort of a lease usage, like, hey, we're gonna use it and we'll insure it, we'll maintain it for snow
I think
removal.
that's something though for the committee to talk about, if we have volunteers that want to do that.
Yeah,
I have a question on the main public parking behind Youngers and all that. There's privately owned spaces in there.
Yeah, and those should have different signage, that should have different signage on that.
Right, but there's no signage there at all now.
well, that would be up
Yes,
to
there
those
is.
parking lot
Kelly,
owners.
there is.
By your building there is, but
Well, that's the,
No, it's different.
you mean those 5 spots? I thought you were talking about the downtown limited parking.
no.
Okay,
I was talking
I'm sorry. I mean, there's a reason the signs are the way they are. And that was fine with us because it became insane, anything else.
Well, I guess my question is, does anybody on this board want to serve on a committee?
I'd be glad to participate in that, but I do think we need, like she said, to
Well-
offer it to people out there, so I like the idea.
Well,
Yeah.
to Zach's point, he thought the DDA should have a smaller subcommittee first, and then you add on your other people.
Yeah, right.
Well, because if it's just a matter of going to business owners because the problem is you get into these committees, when you open it up, we start talking about the same thing that we've already beaten over the head at our meetings, and we get nowhere.
Right.
We're back to the same ideas and it's square one all over again. We need to explore new ideas, and I think that's where we need to know from our parking standpoint, are we still in that mindset of property acquisition? I mean, I'm pretty sure we've got, I don't know what I want to say when we're in an open meeting, but
Yeah.
I mean, we had discussion.
There's no
Okay,
movement
so
at
there's
the
no
moment.
movement there, but is that something that we want to spearhead moving forward? I mean, is
So-
that,
Greg has volunteered. I think you would be a good person on it.
I mean, Greg and I have
Carl?
kind of discussed this before. I'd be happy to. put my
See,
2
twist
cents
your
in.
arms.
I think John would be interested in that too. I mean, he's got skin. in
Okay,
the
so we
game
got
down there.
John,
Well,
Greg.
just,
Well, this is what I always say, don't miss a meeting.
that's why I'm here, Carl. That's why I'm here.
Carl and Zach.
Okay, and if you keep it at 4, then,
You don't have to
it's-
have
you
a-
don't have,
yeah.
there's not a
Mhm.
quorum, and so it's not a.
So your feeling is if we had more uniform signage, we would accomplish,
So is there a question mark at the end of that?
Yes.
Okay. It's hard when I can't see your face. I think what we would accomplish is it would accomplish less confusion when people are coming to town. It would accomplish when you're walking down the street and you want to go to a restaurant and you're like, oh great, we can, not when you're walking because you're still in your car at that point. You know, you see a space, oh okay, I can park there. Because when you go to a new community and you're going out to eat and you see a parking lot that's empty, but you're like, are they going to tow me if I park there? Right? You don't know. And there's Elizabeth and I have been working together a bit with some of the website stuff, and she found a beautiful community in Rome, Georgia. The way they talk about their parking is just beautifully done. They don't have a great parking situation, but it's how do you sell it, right? How do you sell? We actually have parking. It's just a matter of changing the way that it is presented to the community. It's a much cheaper way to do it by just switching some signs out than it is to, we can't come up with a structure overnight. We can't even come up with a parking lot overnight, right? I mean, it takes time. You have to go through so many things. So it's a viable option. So my point with having a committee of other members beyond this, should you all decide to do that, is it will take me much less time to talk to a small community of interested people to find out what we might be doing with the parking for maybe 4 or 6 hours than it is for me to go out and talk to 40, 60 people times however long that takes me to do. So,
Well, I think the subcommittee can come up with a directive
Yeah,
and go from
great.
there. So
Great, thank you.
you'll-
I'll communicate that, yeah, thank you.
Yep. Website.
Yeah, so website, we were going to have the goal was to have a presentation, and there was just some things that happened along the way that didn't make that possible for tonight. But the wireframe is getting closer and closer to completion. I did not send you guys the report. I just now realized that because I didn't want to I was trying not to send you 3 things in one day. That's what happened. And so, but there's nothing on there because it hasn't launched yet, but I'll still do that, make sure that I do that. We are modeling the front page after a website in Greeley, Colorado. It is an excellent interactive website with clear and concise detail. He's already, actually I've got that further down. At last week's meeting, I was made aware that he's already including video production in his scope of work. We've seen the rough draft of the promo video, and it's really impressive. During the month of February and early March, they'll be coming out to Romeo for half a day to get additional footage, and we'll be coordinating that with myself and the business owners, along with a script and some certain taglines to be grabbed on that. He's also including some of the work that he's already done through ground and drone video. I think some of it he did for Tar Financial. That's already in his portfolio from his previous work. Currently working with the graphics designer who's done all these beautiful things. She's looking at possibly redoing a logo to present to you all to see what you might think of that. So, so we're excited to see to show you what we've come up with. And then we're also playing around with the possibility of a slogan for the DDA that is catchy. So
Well, you tested one out there.
I kind of did. I was playing with that to see what would happen in the social media world. And yeah, we had people reposting it and putting songs to it. And yeah, it was pretty fun. So yeah, let's see if I can remember what it was. Oh, Small Town, Big Heart. That's what it was. So kind of fun. And Elizabeth found that. We just took the S off of hearts to sing, make it a little bit shorter. So we'll continue to play with that and see what that works. We were thinking, do you want to know what the design idea is?
Yeah.
You ready? Okay. So I don't have it here, but basically it's the one that's in, it was the one from Rome, Georgia, right? The one with the swirls. It had a little bit of a swirly, but it had the name, and it basically just said, it would say potentially Historic Romeo, and then something on the bottom, and then with the swirl, you could incorporate maybe a peach into that. So we'll see. We don't know. Obviously, it's the board's decision, but just something to change it up just a little bit.
Because how long ago did we do this?
It's been a while. Didn't you do it, Zach?
I know you did.
Newer than the other.
It was my grant.
It's been a while.
No hard feelings. I'm not a graphic designer, so I didn't personally do it. It's been about 5 years, I would say, 4 or 5 years. And the other one before that
Was ancient.
Yes.
Which is still stuck on the current website, yeah.
Well, I also think if we're launching this new website, brand new branding with
That
the
would be the
logo,
time to do
yeah,
it, yeah.
yeah.
Get until later.
Yeah, so I'm so grateful for your new board member that has, she's looked at, what did you look at, like 60 DDA websites across the country, and.
The one thing, and I was telling Zach too, I kept finding was all these websites, a lot of them in really neat cities, you would think that would be really cool, you know, I won't say that now, but you would see pictures of people, or no people, you know, there'd be photos or videos of the street with no one there, or a restaurant with no one there, or a shop with no one shopping. So, it didn't seem, you know, places that we wanted to go, and I found those other ones, and they were exciting, and it just looked like somewhere you'd want to go, so. When he does the video downtown, hopefully, can he do it in the spring when we get
I know,
a, are we trying to, I mean.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
he's
it's
looking
ugly
at
looking.
just, it's mainly to grab little snippets of inside activity.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, not the outside.
Somebody cooking, somebody baking, somebody
Yeah.
making a cappuccino, you know, t-shirts getting made. Yeah, absolutely, inside, you know, is it David Allen, who owns the grooming place. You know, I was in there when we were distributing some flyers, and he's so personable. And so I called him. I said, "Would you want to
Yeah.
do one of your favorite dogs at the same?" Like, he's like, "That would be. I would love to do that." So watching a grooming take place, you know, just
Yeah.
it's this interactive that's in this video that we were like, we want to go there. You know, and that's what we want to create.
You have a new groomer in town too.
That's who she's talking
Yes.
about.
Well, no, this was the
Oh.
other. I just found out today. One of my volunteers was out distributing, and she said they're open. So yeah, I'd have to hop around there. Yes,
Do you want to be in the videos?
Me?
Yeah.
Your camera would break.
I think he should be
No.
Okay.
front and center.
We've been talking about appointing a member from our board as the board treasurer current to our bylaws, and I've spoken to 3 or 4 of you that flat out turned me down. So I asked Greg Tar this evening.
So I was your last choice?
I was just going through my list, and Greg did respond back and said he would do it. Well, oh, okay, yes, you have to get permission from,
I have to make sure my compliance department is okay with me serving in that role. So I'll find that out, you know, in the next day or two. If I can, I'll be glad to.
I think the only, when I've dealt with that, you can't sign checks or any of
I
that,
don't
yeah.
wanna do that.
No. So, yay, thank
So
you,
do you
Greg.
want to do that tonight, or do we
Do
need
you
to
want to
wait?
find out first?
Yeah, I think we
Okay,
need to
so we'll
just-
table it. till
Yeah,
next
we'll
month.
table
Okay.
that until March and then
I
make
thought
you
we
official.
Talked about getting rid of the treasurer's job.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did.
2 options.
You have to make an amendment to your bylaws to do that.
And we're
And
not
this-
ready to rewrite those right now.
Right, so, and this is just really with Carla in place right now, I think Greg will be fine.
I'm not trying to fire him, I just.
Don't fire him before I get him in here.
Right.
New business.
No, we still have one more, the bookkeeping.
Oh, sorry. So you did post this at the Village Hall?
Sure, I can go through here.
Yeah.
So the position was posted as was the decision of the last board meeting on the Village of Romeo website, Facebook page, the DDA Facebook page. The village clerk looked into having it put on the Michigan Municipal League. Would have cost us $523 for members and $1,046 for non-members, which they could have done it for us, right? And so we would have paid that $500. As we did not have a wage or a weekly work schedule, it was decided to not go that route due to the cost. We did receive one inquiry from someone who was interested but did not have accounting or booking experience, even though she said I'm a quick learner. Just really wouldn't work. We continue to discover that it appears to be a best practice for Michigan DDAs to partner with their municipality for this service. It is my recommendation that we work with the village office to see if this is a possibility moving forward. As Carla and I work through the budget amendments for March for the current fiscal year and begin the process for the fiscal year 2022 and 2023 in April, we'll have a clearer understanding of what that scope of work might entail.
Have you asked Christine if this is a possible?
She's interested in entertaining the idea, yes,
Okay.
but until we actually know what that scope actually might look like, it seemed, and to not know what you all wanted to do, it seemed premature to find that information out.
Like, I guess we can't make a decision until we know.
Right.
Did we get a resume from the interested person, or was it just like a phone
No,
call?
like she
Okay.
had absolutely no accounting background at all.
So we
None.
didn't get a resume, or we did?
No, we did not. No, we did not. It was
Is
a
this
quick, it was a phone call.
Part-time position or?
It would,
full-time?
yeah, it would be part-time, very part-time, yeah. So is that,
So-
are you all fine with,
Waiting until we
with
find
that
out?
recommendation, or?
So your recommendation is to go with the village?
Well, to wait until,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then see,
Table
check
this
into
and
that.
see what this, because we can't make a decision. We don't know the cost,
Or
right?
at least at the end of the day, have a better scope of work.
Right.
Right.
Or it's worth going and putting it out there.
Not ready to make a decision, so we're waiting.
Right, there's no
That's-
decision,
There's no- right.
there's no
There's
decision.
nothing to talk about right now.
So
Right.
you'll come back next month with a little more information on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct, yep.
Perfect.
Okay.
New business.
Okay, so, social media policy. The recommendation is to adopt a social media policy and electronic information technology policy for the DDA as presented. The electronic information policy that you see, the one that's green on the top, we actually had to do that as, that was part of our insurance. So we didn't really have an option to not get that, but that was, so we had that. And then I included a draft for a social media policy, which you all don't currently have. And I did, lift is the wrong word to use, but borrowed it from another organization and obviously tailored it to fit our needs. But it didn't do many changes in there, just to reflect, obviously, the role of director, the board chair, you know, the name, the DDA, and so forth. So it's pretty standard with other entities that are out there.
Any discussion on that?
Well, this came about, me and Elizabeth had a meeting. Back when Elizabeth first came, I'm the main social media person. I'm an admin, Zach's an admin. I've been doing it for, I'm thinking 7 years is what I.
There really was no social media before Megan
Yeah.
kind of took it over and did, she's had the reins for.
We have a completely different board now. The board then was a different generation. And everyone, it was kind of just sitting there, and I said, well, hey, I'll do it. I know how to do Facebook. So they said, okay, Megan, you take this. So kind of just done it for the last 7 years. So when Elizabeth came on, I said, hey, Elizabeth, you ever need me to post anything, do anything, let me know. I have the social medias. And that's how, I mean, you guys have heard it at the meetings. We had trouble with Instagram because it's a different platform. You can't just say, I make you an admin on this platform also. So it was decided the easiest way to go about it, because there was all this other stuff to work around. Well, hey, I'll just change the password, and we'll have a dual password that we both know, and we can both get into the Instagram. Well, and since changing the password for us to dually get into it, I can no longer get into it. I don't know if that's because the password has been changed or how it's working, but I can no longer get into my Instagram that I created. So when I did have the Instagram access, I connected Instagram to Facebook. So what happens is you have two separate platforms, and you would have to do the same thing. Okay, I'm gonna do this picture and this comment here, and then I gotta log in over here and do this picture and comment over here. What you can do is say, I post it here once and send it over there, and it posts there, so you'll cut out half the work. So I connected them from Instagram to Facebook. So what Elizabeth is realizing or liking would be, I think it's better for the website, is that she wants it would like it whole circular, so that Facebook can also post to Instagram. So she can choose which one she wants to send from or whatever, which I can't do for her now because I can't get into the Instagram. I'm an admin, Zach's an admin, Elizabeth is an editor. And as an editor, she has full rights to the page, change everything, do whatever she wants, but she can't connect the pages. So she asked me to make her an admin. I told her no. I don't have the authority. She asked, well, under what authority? I said, under no authority, because I don't have authority to do that and to not do that. So you're asking me to do something that the board handed over to us to hand over to you without asking, what does the board want to do? My concern with this is that it's like, so just like what happened with the Instagram. If I hand over the admin, she can then block us out.
Change passwords.
Yeah. Not that you would, but it's potential. So that is my concern. If I can get back into the Instagram, I can connect it for her. I have no problem whatsoever handing over reins to Elizabeth. Like I said, I've done it for 7 years. It's a lot of work. Collaboration isn't gonna work because, like I said, I've ran it. I know how it is. Having to check in with somebody and what do you think, and that, it just makes it that much harder. Hoops to jump through. Let her do it, throw out her content, and not have to check with somebody else, like, well, did you already put that on there? It's just easier that way. So if Elizabeth wants to take it over, if we want to assign that as her duties, because I don't even, is that part of something?
Well, part of the
Well,
policy
it's-
she wrote, that was the expectation, that she would, you know, all facets of the job included social media. But you did do it for 7 years, and we are appreciated because you built the audience.
Yeah, and that's
There
what
was
I'm saying.
nobody.
That's what I want to protect, is because if we give an employee an admin seat, they can essentially steal it from us and steal our audience, and then you start out from ground zero.
But in the fact of hiring Elizabeth, we hired her on her merits, and I really don't feel
I'm not
that's
saying
something.
that Elizabeth will literally, I'm like, I
I
would hope
understand
not,
what you-
but it's just like your bank accounts. You don't say, we were uncomfortable with only one person on there. And we all have levels of who can have access and how that works.
But I think she left Zach in the,
Well, that's why it's on
Yeah.
the recommended policy that actually the board chair is also on the account. And then others, of course, if appointed by the executive. This is pretty standard. The offenses that are in here are fireable. I mean, you could fire me if I did any of these things,
Elizabeth,
right?
I had a question about the policy.
Sure.
Was this?
Which one? The draft
the
policy
IT
or the?
policy,
Uh-huh.
and the social media.
Sure.
And it looks like it's directed towards employees.
Right,
Right.
of which I am.
Right, which we are not.
Correct.
So I guess there needs to be some clarification if we're writing a policy for just you, or do we need to revise this policy adding, if Megan's gonna stay and Zach's gonna stay?
Well, the electronic information technology policy, this is from our insurance company. This isn't changeable.
Okay,
So,
but
the
this
first
is
one.
just
This-
for employees, so this would have nothing to
Oh,
do
yes,
with the
this
board
is just for
members.
employees, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
As far as, so do you have a question regarding the draft one? The social media
I'll
policy
get-
draft?
Yeah, go ahead and I'll get back to
Real,
it, so.
real quick, going back to Megan's point, the way this is laid out, it wouldn't be two people in charge. It said the Romeo DDA Executive Director is the lead for all social media accounts. All members of the team, which the team would consist of the board chair and others, if appointed by the executive director. So we are kind of giving the executive director in this scenario full control over who does and does not get
Right.
appointed. It's not really a board decision or a committee decision, which I think that might be a little too much to say Elizabeth has full control over who can and can't be put on the account. I have no problem being removed from the account. I don't need to post anything. That's
well, I guess my
not what I
question
wanna
is,
do. But shouldn't it be more of a committee thing as opposed to our executive director saying yay and nay to people without the say of this board?
now see, I'm the admin to the chamber page.
Mhm.
Board members could care less.
And I don't,
Yeah,
yeah, but you're
so-
doing more of the, if somebody wanted to post something, let's say it's,
They have to
Debbie
give it
has
to me.
access. Does Debbie have access?
No,
Okay, now what if Debbie wanted access?
I'd give it to her.
Okay, well.
We work in the
you did.
office together. We're both employees.
Right, but then would it be then up to your board? If you said no in that scenario,
No,
would the board wouldn't be able to turn around and say, Kelly, you need to
we've
give
never,
access to
we've never
Debbie."
run into that.
I know you've never run into that, but we're preparing for situations that could occur, not situations that haven't occurred yet.
Okay, I guess my question to this is, she's coming up, number one, because our insurance company has asked for this.
No, this is different,
Okay,
correct?
It's in conjunction with, right?
But it's
Okay,
not-
do we
Because they already
want
have one that you have to have already. This is
multiple
making it
board
formal.
members posting?
There needs to be a concise message that's being given out. There's,
Right.
the DDA is within a certain bound, and there's certain ways that those things should be done. And you've done a phenomenal job with that. And when she came and we did the interview and we looked at some of that stuff, she was absolutely right. She goes, well, this isn't really my decision. It needs to go before the board. I'm like, okay, perfect. I'll come up with a draft policy and we'll put it on the agenda.
Well, and
So
our
that's why
views
we're here.
really differed like you're saying, it's the DDA area and the DDA district, whereas I see it as it's a Romeo community, which is the tri-community, because we do get money from Washington and Bruce, so we should be promoting
But
tri-community
it's
events.
designated to the
So that's where I
downtown
said,
development
I have
area.
this idea, you have that idea, you're new, you have fresh ideas, have at it.
I personally see the DDA social media as the DDA, not our whole area.
What I'm learning, if any of you want to know this part, what I'm learning by looking at other DDAs as well is that that's what you're promoting are the businesses within that DDA that are paying those taxes, right?
Mhm.
And so, so to each one of you who are sitting here who own a business, right? Carl's not posting for FAMs on a regular basis. Greg is not posting for other people. I mean, it's specific to
That's my job.
to your audience, right? That's true. It's specific to your audience, right? So we don't just post things that are just the DDA. Hey, we have this going on this day, but it's to encourage the growth and the development of the downtown area.
DDA
So
district.
That's kind of where.
And we do get more
that's at.
taxes though, just from the local business, that's what I'm saying is, I always spread it out because we do get tip, that is why the two meetings
But our
we have
TIF
a
money
year-
is,
It's still, the tip money from.
Washington
the
is
CBD
being.
still in the CBD.
It is, yeah, it's being realized by, because you got Washington Township on the south side, you got Bruce on the
Correct.
north, so.
Yeah.
But that's another thing that, and we've never discussed as a board what the messaging of the DDA social media should or shouldn't be.
Yeah.
It's never been at a subcommittee level, it's never been.
Well, 7 years ago, we didn't know, it was all new, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean, even within, it's really never been a topic of conversation until now. And I'm not saying that it doesn't have to be, but I think that's something that should be a subcommittee. I think we need to know what the messaging is supposed to be and is not supposed to be. You know what I mean?
So my bottom line is, if Kelly wants to be the admin and have the director be the,
I don't want to be the admin.
well, that's what it says on here.
It does?
This is the
No,
chair.
it says it says the team consists of the following. Meaning, I'm not the only one on the account.
Right.
Just like the bank accounts,
Right.
just like any other piece of items that are out there, I'm not exclusive, so that it's not one person who can,
Well,
But that
again,
would still make her an admin, correct?
Megan,
not
is it-
necessarily.
no, I don't want to be an admin.
Is it possible on these posts, I'm never on social media, so I don't know, I have somebody in my office does a bit, and my wife takes care of it at home, but will there be so much posting that it would be, not practical for somebody to sort of be a check the box, send it, it looks okay, or is that cumbersome? If she created a post and said, this is my proposed post.
Yeah, no, that would be annoying. That's
Okay.
that's where I'm saying is one
Yeah.
person, it's best if one person has the go-ahead, because it.
So what
I
is,
posted,
what are
like,
we
I did something
messaging?
For the DDA
Are we
practically every day
messaging
for the last
that-
7 years, it's like you're constantly throwing it out, and sometimes it's 3 and 4 times a day. And it's time sensitive, depending on if it's an event and what's going on, so she needs to have the ability to just do it,
Well, I
which
think
she
it's-
has as an
She
expert.
can look
Already
at,
doing.
she can look at your insights and tell exactly when she's getting her biggest audience.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
so for example, the
Mhm.
Romeo Winterfest, we've had over 24,000 hits on that alone.
But I guess
So it's.
what
the
we're looking
content
at is what is our messaging? Are we sticking to our DDA boundaries, or are we going to go out and message beyond that?
Well, I think,
That would be part of what the messaging would be from
Yeah.
us.
Megan, would you be
Whatever
willing
picked,
to
you
work?
gotta stick to it. We can't do one thing for what, okay, so Romeo Band has a craft show that I've always put on there or something like that. We can't go, okay, well, this one we'll let on, because then if we stick to this, then we have to say, this is it.
and I don't know why we're not talking about possibly like hiring an outside company to take care of our social media. Like, with so much to do with your position, do you really want to be bogged down with doing social media posts? I think
Yeah.
that's better, like, you can,
So can I can address
$200-300
that.
a month,
Sure.
if that's something where your attention's better spent elsewhere, like, that's where I think we should be considering that as a viable option, like.
She's still gonna have to give them directive and
Right.
what you
Yeah,
want
she's gonna
posted.
spend time
It's gonna
giving
still
them all
be
the
her time.
information.
Yep.
So to that, Zach, that's a good question. We have an opportunity to partner with the Four County Foundation for internships, and this is, some of these young kids are they're amazing with all of this stuff. So they know what the messaging is, just like your business, right? Just anybody else who has somebody who's handling their social media. As I'm talking with the businesses downtown, they need somebody to handle that, right? We have that's something that I could bring to you, in the near future. I've been stumbling through this, figuring it out, but there's a method to it that if you post one thing, but then somebody else goes and posts something else, you then bumped it down. Whereas if that importance needed to be on, say, an event or, maybe a big sale that's happening or whatnot, and you're not communicating that's where if you have too many people doing that, it gets confusing. So, I mean,
Two things real fast.
Sure.
Megan, would you be willing, since you've got a lot of experience with it, to perhaps write like a best practices that could be our guide? For starters, it doesn't mean we're married to it forever, but a synopsis or syllabus of what it would be like for best practices that she could start with and use. Or the second is it something that if you were paid to do, would you maybe not feel so differently about it if you were a contractor for this job, for this responsibility?
So I'll start with your first one. I don't know that she needs any direction. So far, everything, all of her content is presented well, on point, good pictures. You always have to put a picture with your comment, but, make it interesting, change it. I don't know that there's much I could tell you how to post.
What about the
otherwise.
boundaries of it? Like not just physical boundaries, but hey, this is the type of stuff we message, and so nobody's confused about, do we promote the band, do we promote a football game, do we promote, that this is the guidelines, even if it's a 10-point, 20-point thing, I don't know.
No, and that's where I think, to Zach's point, like, I don't know that I should be the only one deciding that, because my point of view is mine, and how I would.
But you could present it.
The audience I would wanna.
It sounds like you did a great job, and if you built it and brought it to us and say, this is what I propose we do, and if we don't like it in a year, we tweak it, but having something on paper, I think would make sense.
Yeah, I could write down some of what I would call more poignant ones in the community that I've shared throughout the year or promoted throughout the year that's not in the DDA district. When people would write in and say, hey, could you put this up, I would do it for them. River of God would say, hey, we're doing this, can you put that up? Sure. I don't know, somebody, the new smoothie place at Frontier Town or something, hey, we're doing this, could you promote, could you put on your page? Sure, no problem. So if people asked, I'd put it out there. I don't know, but there's just other things outside our district that have always been part of it. So I could come up with a list like that.
Well,
We have
maybe
something
to
we have-
Zach's, maybe a couple people as a subcommittee that you guys come back, because personally, I don't think the DDA should be promoting outside the DDA district, but that's only my thoughts. You
It's
guys
not-
might have other.
It's not
that's
part
the
of our charter, but
historical
we have something we have to adopt because insurance company said so.
Well, they're two separate things, so we.
Right, well, why don't we do the one that we have to do and then put the other one to a subcommittee and let them
Right,
figure it out? Because
okay.
I have no idea what you people are talking about. Okay? And
All right,
I'm going
well,
home and
okay,
watching
so-
the Olympics. Now, let's move it.
According to our insurance policies, the recommendation to adopt social media policy and electronic information technology policy for the Romeo DDA as presented.
So, my question, that's just this? Because it.
That's the
I-
you'd have to
Right.
take off the social media policy part. The other one is it would just be the electronic information
Okay,
technology
all right,
policy.
scratch the social media. To adopt the electronic information technology policy for the Romeo DDA as presented.
I can make that motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now the second part of that is to form a subcommittee that could possibly, one or two of the board members, and come back in March with a social media policy directive.
And what's even better, I won't be here to listen to it.
Bill, you're gonna chair it.
No, I'm not gonna be here in March, so it doesn't matter. So why don't we have Megan and Zach do that?
From a calendar perspective, the next board meeting is on the 7th. I will be out of town for part of the previous week, and the Winterfest is on the 26th.
Right.
To push out 2 months, we've done without one for
Yeah,
years.
just do April.
But I will tell you, what is frustrating is because I don't have admin access to Instagram, I cannot link them, so it is more time effective to post from Facebook, which you can do easily from a computer.
Can't
But
you
it's,
post Instagram to Facebook?
but it's not the same content.
No.
It's not.
Facebook
It's very
Facebook
limited
wants
what
you to
can
do
put
it the
out.
other
And our
way.
audience is mostly on Facebook, but to be able to jointly do it, it's just,
But like I told
I know.
David,
you're
if
tying
you
my
give me
hands.
the
If I can't get into
password-
this, you're tying my
if I
Do
hands.
you?
give the password back to the Instagram,
I mean, I really have
we
no
can
idea what
link
they're
that as
talking
the
about.
admin's work.
Is there a reason you're not giving it
And
a
I don't
password?
want to.
I don't know how to figure it out. We were trying it so that we don't mess up the flow of it.
You're
I'm
talking about
concerned
a
if we
code
mess up the
admin
flow of
and
something.
camera.
No, it's not that I'm not.
I could
unwilling
get
to
that.
do
But currently, right
It's
now, you're posting from Facebook to Instagram.
No,
Other way around.
it has to be it has to be that. I am doing both.
You're doing them
I'm
individually.
I'm doing them individually unless it's the story.
I
Yeah,
thought you
because
could
if
go from Facebook to Instagram.
you can,
can.
but I don't have access to do that because I'm not an admin.
If we redid the password.
You're trusting me with
that
$600,000 by being a signer on that, but not this. I'm just saying, like, can we put this in perspective a little bit? I'm just saying, my time is very important, so.
Kelly, I thought you were appointing a subcommittee. We were.
All right, do we have any volunteers?
This seems like
Megan?
more of a control thing than an actual
Yeah.
issue. That's what this is. Can you guys sort this out? And can we get this resolved?
Well, she's looking for your,
No,
she's looking for you guys to
I get where
vote
she's
on
coming
it,
from. She
whether
just
or
wants
not I
us
get to be an
be-
admin or not. She's looking, that's what she asked me for me to put this on the agenda, to see where's the direction of the board. This is standard procedure. It's standard.
I don't have a
Elizabeth should
problem.
have admin oversight on that. That's my opinion.
What was it? I'm sorry.
But she should have admin access.
Yeah, I would think so too. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
what's she gonna do, blow up our image in the community? I mean, come on, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I hope I've blown up the image in the
There
community.
you go, good one. All right.
Okay,
Bill and I are going to watch the Olympics here pretty soon, aren't we, Bill?
About 4 minutes.
And he
well,
just
I think,
wants-
I think she's been doing a fantastic job.
Yes. She has.
What do we do here until April?
Well, if.
Do you
I'll
guys
tell
still
you-
want a subcommittee with a recommendation from the board?
I think there's two things here, subcommittee on how to use social media, or how to use, what we'd like to see promoted. And there's another issue here, can we sort of make Megan feel comfortable saying, hey, here's the keys to the kingdom, go for it, and her not feel like maybe she jeopardized the community by turning over the keys to a rogue operator.
Well, she's,
her-
she's currently an editor, which is equal to an admin. She just can't assign duties or change the password so that other people can't get on. Other than that, she can do everything.
Are you comfortable, Megan, with her taking it over, right?
Well, let's
Yeah.
back up. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean,
As
so
the,
I
as
think.
editor, as long as someone on this committee, doesn't have to be me, is the admin. The admin just holds we've had other employees that haven't exited well. That they can take that password with them, never give it back, and then we've lost that domain and all of those people. That's what the concern is.
Megan's concern,
Yeah.
from what I'm understanding, is the fact that she gave up control to an Instagram page, and she was under the impression that she would be working in conjunction with Elizabeth, and the passwords were changed. And I think that's where the trepidation comes on the part of the Facebook page. And I think that's a fair concern, if that's
And it
what
doesn't
happened.
tie you at all, right? You can do whatever you need to do.
No, she's,
Right,
As an
correct.
currently, absolutely.
Well,
yes.
That's
what
why
we're
the
talking
policy
about.
says the executive director, a board chair, and others as appointed by the executive director, which is a standard
If
procedure.
it doesn't slow you down in what you need to do, Elizabeth, day to day,
Leave
why are
it
we
in.
talking about it? I mean,
Well, you've wasted.
No, it does.
Yeah.
It does,
15
block.
minutes.
Without having the admin on the Instagram, I'm not able to link things. There's all these little nuanced things that happen with the social media. And I am absolutely not a control freak. I don't need to control this. You know, you all don't have to approve any of these things, right? But my hands are tied with with part of it. And if you have two different opinions as to what we're posting, how we're posting it, how we can connect them, we changed it because I couldn't get in there because I was accessing her personal Instagram account, which I don't want to have any. No way. I'm not going to have
Well,
access.
as a subcommittee, what we want to hear then is the bullet points of what exactly would be recommended for posting. Are we outside our district? Are we inside our district? What we're doing, and then the admin. Can't you both be admin?
The
Yeah,
problem with
you can
both
have-
being admin is I could kick her off or she could kick me off. That's what
Well,
I'm
but
saying.
there wouldn't be there would be
Why
no
would you
reason
do
to
that, though?
You have an admin and an editor.
Yeah, but why would anybody be kicking anybody off?
I don't know. The
But
same
if
reason I-
potentially down the road, if somebody, like you said, left badly, they could screw up.
It's like having your business computer with a password that only the employee knows, and when the employee leaves, you can never get back into your files. It's that kind of thing. If they take that password with them and never give it back to you.
Yeah, but wouldn't you have access to the passwords, whatever password she
No,
sets
If
up?
you're
not
both
if-
a-
not if you're both an admin. And if she went in as.
If you're both an
as-
admin, you wouldn't be
If somebody
access.
changed it.
You could change
As
it.
an admin, you have
and
authority
use
to
somebody
change it.
else.
If we get
So
a-
what I'm hearing is there's a trust factor here too.
No, I think what I'm looking at this here and the thing that I'm having
Yeah,
a
part of
little
that's
trouble.
left at home.
That's the only thing I'm seeing, and I don't mean it about Elizabeth. It just, I think of the board should appoint who has access to this stuff. And then that's who works on it. And if Elizabeth wants somebody else to be on it, say, hey, at the next meeting, this is a person that's volunteering, I would like them to be able to edit on this. And I
Because
think
what
as the board, we should be able to say yes or no.
What if okay, we both become admins, and now as an admin, she says, okay, Madison, you jump on too, and you can be an admin. Then Madison could potentially block us both out.
No,
If
they
we're-
would not be admins. They would be
They would be an editor
They would
because
be an
they are
editor.
essentially an
Correct.
employee
Right.
of the committee. And that's what I'm trying to say, is as an employee of the committee, not against you, Elizabeth, you
Sure.
an editor, the committee, whoever it is the admin. That's all I'm trying to say.
I would be more concerned about your bank account, me not being on a bank account, where other things could also happen, than I would be on this.
We're not
I think,
talking about that.
well, but it's the same, you're right, it is a
Kelly,
trust
we're going
factor.
around and
Because
around
if you
and
trust
around.
me with the finances, how are you not trusting me with social media?
All right, why don't, we'll have to talk about this later on, as the board, and just figure it out.
Subcommittee.
So is there a
Well,
reason?
I would like to see somebody come back and say, what are the parameters of what we're posting and who we're posting about if we're the Romeo DDA?
Which is something that a subcommittee would do.
Right.
Okay?
But you could still pass a social media policy to give me direction, and also to hold me accountable to not abuse it, because I'm already on it, right? The parameters in this are talking about usage rules, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. Those are important things to adopt.
Well, but to Kelly's point, right now, we've had two separate people who are going to be in control of social media, Megan prior to, and now you, Elizabeth, and neither one of you have ever been given direction, so.
Right.
What parameters are you guys following? Is it the own individual's idea of what the parameters should be?
Sure.
Or is it something that we need to adopt as a board before we get complete control?
All right, I will
Well,
serve
you could
on-
always change, who the team consists of with this. You don't
Well, I
have to
think
accept
that's
it
what
the way
Carl
it is.
Yeah, but according to this,
Same.
it's you pick whoever it is, or the position, your position chooses whoever.
Okay,
this
for
is.
subcommittee, I'll volunteer. Megan?
As long as we're doing evening meetings, I can't do daytime.
I struggle with some of that, and I don't, and if you're only available on a Friday night, that just doesn't,
Well, I think they're gonna do is that the board members are gonna talk about it amongst themselves. I'm not so
oh,
sure.
you don't want me there?
I don't think so.
Oh,
I think
okay.
they need to talk about it amongst themselves.
You're more than welcome to be in as part of any sort of subcommittee.
So you've got
That's-
three?
But
it's
really,
not
is
required.
Friday night your only availability?
Depending on the week, depending on my Monday meetings and all my other meetings, yeah, and I work, so it just depends. Tuesday evening, in a certain amount of time.
Can you do a
Wednesdays.
Zoom?
Yeah, we could talk on the phone during the day. I just have a 3-year-old that is not going to come to your office and be pleasant.
Okay.
Drop them at Zach's.
Do you have 3?
Elizabeth?
Sign me up.
Okay.
Sure, daycare center.
All right, so the subcommittee will be Elizabeth Kellogg, myself, and then Megan. We will come back to the board in April with
Okay.
a directive.
Is
okay?
that too late though for you? I mean.
No,
or-
she can do what, she's busy with it now, it sounds like.
Okay, Elizabeth, is that April
If
deadline?
that is, if that's the direction you guys are going, that's what I will heed to.
And I
Oh.
have no problem saying at this point, from now on, I can cease posting, and Elizabeth can have posting carte blanche. As you wish.
All right. I would appreciate if, you know, if you all just review the policy, even if you change the management wording on here, you can adopt a policy as amended, right? You can change those wording. This protects you from me and
I'm not
vice
so
versa,
much
right?
about that. I want to get down to the nitty gritty
Sure.
of the parameters of who we are representing
That makes
when we
sense.
post.
That makes sense. All right, thank you.
Okay, downtown banner cables in the hole.
So, if you all saw my email I sent out this afternoon, to your DDA account, and yesterday, I found out Sean drove by our house and said, hey, by the way, one of the cables broke, and I called the police, and they held it to the side until the fire department got there to strap it up. It's the one on the south end.
I
And
thought it was-
apparently, there's been previous knowledge that they were rusted out, so that was disappointing to hear.
That's why we didn't put up Christmas decoration
On that pole.
on either.
Yeah.
We were gonna do Christmas essentially banners on both of them. And when I say banner, greeneries, remember?
Right.
But there was supposed to be a weight study done, I guess, and the weight study was never done on that.
But what
or
we
to
did,
find out what that
what
would
we
cost.
did decide though is those poles are outside the DDA district. That's why nothing was done on that.
Okay.
And the engineering study was gonna cost a lot of money that we were
It's a
not
couple
going
grand, I
to dip
believe, just to
into.
tell us.
So
what-
I know you spoke to the county. Did they have any recommendations on
I'm
that?
waiting for the person who was in that department. I have not heard. Well, he wasn't in today, so I have a
I
call
will
in.
tell you this, I tried to videotape those a couple times outside my building.
They do.
Those things are wicked dangerous, and I live on the edge and a lot of crazy stuff I do in my yard and ladders and chainsaws. But I watched those poles, they were slapping probably 8 inches each way. And
The poles themselves?
they were
Oh, wow.
slapping, and I tried to get a video, and then it would stop, and then it would pick up again. I'm like, this is crazy, and I thought, yeah, and I don't usually say that about stuff like that. It does probably need to be thought about. I hope they don't snap one day and go through a windshield.
I'm assuming these are the counties.
Does
It's
anyone
on a
know who
county
owns
road.
the poles?
I thought Whitcomb's put them in a million years ago.
They're not, the counties
I
say,
doubt
get them
it.
out of there, we're not taking
They're
responsibility.
probably owned by the village,
Right.
okay? Or the.
Are they owned by the
We don't
village?
know who owns them. They were put up years ago so that they could advertise all types of stuff. So
Right.
the ownership of the poles is no longer
Well, it
known to
is.
anybody.
Well, it
it's
is.
But it's in village easements, so it's on village property.
It's a village issue, they
Well,
gotta
why
just,
why is the village issuing, permits are required for those
Yeah, they have
banners, why
permits
are
and
they
you have
granting
to
those?
preserve and you have to.
Put those things
Let's
up.
put those things up, if it's a-
Poles do, if you look at any pole, it's going to move.
Well,
Period.
not that much.
well, I'm not an
8 inches is
engineer, I'm
nothing.
just saying, it just,
Because they.
it was slapping a lot, it was pretty crazy.
I told Elizabeth, I said, who has very similar setup as Elmont?
Mm-hmm.
And I drive through there 2-3 times a week, and they had the very similar Christmas banners that we the decorations that we enlisted, and they have the poles on each side. You call and ask them, what do they do, or how do they do it?
Well, I guess
But
I would
it's
have a
not-
conversation with the village and the county.
It was brought up that, that previously when there was the support the police banners a year and a half ago or whenever that was, that the DDA decided, I didn't have time to go through board minutes.
We're talking about two
Those are
different
the-
No,
things.
but I was told that it was both those were, no, okay. Well,
No, that's up.
That was two separate things.
well, and then the county said today that, you know, anytime you put anything over the county roads, you're supposed to get a permit from the county, not just from the village.
That's a
So,
vill- Once again, that's a village, that's on them. That's
Yeah, 'cause
got
you
nothing
go
to
into
do,
the
those
village
permits
to
don't
get
go
a
through the
permit.
DDA office, they go
well,
through
we're
the
trying to
village
work
office.
collaboratively, so that's why I'm trying to, you know, I contacted the county because the county helped pay for one of those banners.
Yeah,
So
but-
it was important for them to find out, you know, like, hey, this is why it's not up, and, you know, you've got a metal cable that's just flying through the road, somebody's gotta do something about it, right?
But
And
really that, Kelly, I'm sorry, Elizabeth, that probably needs to just go back to the village and the DPW folks and saying, hey, this is what's going on, and let them work that through. Us as a DDA, one, it's out of our district. Two, there's no way we've got responsibility for those things. We just use them to promote our stuff. But they need to, maybe if we want to give them money to help fix them or rebuild one of them or something.
So what is it, the actual poles need to be redone, or the
No, the
cable?
cables. The
But the
cable, the
poles do
cables
too,
broke, the
though,
cable,
right?
one of the cable broke.
The poles need to be done.
Yeah, I
That's why we looked at
We
that.
painted them recently. If you would have seen them before they were painted.
Really?
They were.
Well, here's my thing, the village gives more permits to other organizations than we put up. So why did this come down to our
So,
problem?
because I had the banners put up, the banners are
Yeah.
owned by the DDA.
Yes.
So the banner came down because the cable broke. We have a board meeting today, I needed to bring this to your attention to say, you know, what is this?
Okay, so
What is this? So I
my
don't- I don't-
directive to you is to go back to the village and ask them what they're gonna do about this.
Okay, so and it's county, because it's a county road, right?
But let the village interface with them. That's.
Okay.
Who puts up the Peach Festival signs? Who puts up the
Well, that's
bike
what,
night?
that's what I'm asking. I mean,
Who are they owned by?
Or who literally physically puts them up.
It's hired by
Fire,
whoever.
the fire
whoever-
station
Fire
puts them
department
all
does
up.
now because Whitcomb doesn't,
Right.
got rid
That's
of their
right.
lift.
When
Is
you
that's
do,
the
but
literal
as an
physical.
individual, if I wanna go and give my money to the village and there's an opening in a window of time where I can put a banner up,
are you talking over the road or?
I'm talking over the
okay.
road. You can go in, you can pay the permit fee,
It's like
and
30
you
bucks.
can get a banner made up and you can hang it over the street. They have to approve it.
Okay, but who is responsible?
The village.
Who owns the cables would be the question.
The village.
If they were already set up there, it would be the village unless those
And if
cables
they're the
were
ones you're getting
installed by the
permit
fire
from and paying the
department.
money to, that would be my assumption.
Is that cable hanging on those poles when something's not there?
Cross
They're,
road.
they're left up there.
They're left there, okay.
Yeah, they're just left across it, and the one on the north side, the bottom one broke a long time ago, apparently, they just never got replaced. So that's been, they've been tethered by, you know, the bottom part of
So
the
I guess,
banners get
to me,
tethered
this
by
is a
it.
village problem.
100%.
Their equipment is defaulted. They authorized you to put a banner over the road, but the equipment was defaulted.
It's faulty, yeah.
Okay, so I'll work with them and.
Because I mean, if that banner was to fall down and injure
Cause an
somebody.
accident,
Is
yeah.
is it in everybody's best interest that they just disappear, period? Or
For a
are we
downtown, I
interested
would
in
say
being?
that's a huge
No.
attractor.
No,
Okay.
they
to
need
have
to
those
fix
on.
it. They
Okay,
need to fix it.
so it's in our joint
Yeah.
part of our imagery that we want banners
Yeah.
attracted to the downtown, and we want to collaboratively, that was Kelly's word, I think, work with the village in making sure the damn things don't end up all of us being sued. So you're gonna talk to the village and find out how we find out whether or not the poles are actually any good or they're rotted inside, and what we need to do about the cables. Is that, I understand what you're
We
doing?
don't do any of those.
Yes, if that's the directive, yes.
I would have you go back to the
Because then
village.
The village can figure it out and then tell you, and then we can collaborate however we need to when it's figured.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in the meantime, we're
We're down a banner.
Hope to get that thing back up, but it's, you know, it got, because of how it came down,
Mhm.
you know, the banner got twisted up in there and whatnot.
Well, how can they
which
put
is
it
why
back
I re-
up? Did the
Pardon?
cable snap? How,
It is literally just wrapped around the pole and secured on one of the side.
But what happened? Did the
How
cable
long's the
snap?
side of your building?
Yeah, I was
It's
just saying, can we
snapped.
stick it
On
to a
the side of your
building?
Say it again.
Can we stick the banner on the
Yeah.
side of your building?
Is
Tonight?
there somewhere else we can put it?
That's what I'm saying. but-
I don't know if I'd put it back up there if it's,
No, it is just scrunched to one side. That's what the fire department did. You know,
But it
and as
sounds
they
like
told
the
me,
poles are
as they
an
told me,
issue.
we're not a sign company. It was a public safety hazard, and we volunteered to come out and do that, right?
Right.
That's right.
But aren't the poles an issue too, Greg, you were saying? They
I-
shouldn't
I
put up
think
anything.
so.
Yeah,
The
I-
village is, it's a liability issue for the village to put anything up over the road with those poles the way they are right now.
And we could maybe, as a DDA, say, we'll split it with you, you know, that could be
Yeah, that could be
something.
another joint project that we do.
What's that?
That could be another joint
But
project.
can
that
it
we
be-
And it would be,
It's
it would
It's
be
outside our
right.
district.
That's the,
What's the wiggle room?
It's, we're advertising the downtown.
It's outside our district, though.
We
You have to be
pay
careful.
for equipment, just like when we paid for it with the banners, and certain banners are outside of our district, we paid for, the brackets.
No, the foundation paid for those.
There was a time that we
pay
did.
for some of the brackets, it was about $15,000.
We can find a way around that.
We,
Yeah, we'll
But
figure it out.
But that project, the 90%, you could argue that what we were
Yeah.
funding.
Maybe,
for the
maybe we can
brackets,
get
Yeah.
somebody to donate some money to do this, but
All
we'll
right.
figure that out when we
Let's
find out
have
the cost.
Elizabeth go back to the village. You can tell them. Have you had a conversation with them yet?
Yes.
Do you have any information that they relayed to you?
No, I mean, it all happened,
Okay.
it all happened so fast, you know, I mean, Christine and Catherine were busy with Candace Miller doing water treatment stuff today. They, you know, went out to lunch and then she got really sick, you know, so I mean, I put in calls to the county
Okay.
and everything else, and, you know, and
All
then
right.
the next thing you know, it's 5:45 and I had to be here at 6, so.
Do we want to put the banner on Greg's building?
Can we get it down on the pole? Someone's gotta get up on the pole and get it down, right?
Yeah.
Except, do you want the banner?
But that's why I think it's important to find out what the county, because you've got the we'll figure something out. We'll figure something out,
Okay,
so.
all right. Board member comments. Elizabeth?
I just want to thank Elizabeth. You guys picked the right person. She is amazing and doing such a great job. So that's all I want to say.
Bill?
No,
I would echo that and remind Elizabeth not to be afraid to petition us for some money for an intern helper person on these projects that take a lot of time, that doesn't need your level of expertise, and but they could work under your direction to get some stuff done.
I agree with it.
Thank you.
Nothing.
That's it.
I think Elizabeth's done a fantastic job on this.
Yeah.
She's not an event person, she told me, and I said, oh, you can do it. And I know she's worked a lot of hours.
need a motion to adjourn?
Hold on.
Where are you going, Bill?
I haven't gotten through, but Megan, do you have anything? No? Okay.
No, but I think that would be important to say it to the rest of the
I
board.
asked if all of the vendors coming had insurance, that is something that me and Lisa learned over time, is getting insurance from all of the vendors that are coming, so it's the horse, that everybody needs to be covered.
Yeah, and our insurance company was contacted and to
Typically,
confirm.
when you're a vendor, you know you have to carry that kind of insurance.
But that's been required
Yeah.
by everyone, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.